Am I the butthole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend? I really love my girlfriend and we've talked extensively about life post-formal commitment, marriage. We know how many kids we want, have a list of names, narrowed down the states where we might want to live, depends on our jobs tbh, etc. Things could not be going better as of today, 1 year in. However, I couldn't shake this thought I had yesterday and it's grown to annoy me very much. We both agree that there's no point in dating unless the end goal is marriage. Her life goals are currently, complete her associate's degree in automotive technology, get a job as a mechanic, and settle down with me. I understand her position of wanting to educate herself just as much as is required to become what she wants to become, and I respect her for knowing her career goals. However, I come from an upper middle class family, where both my dad and mom have worked really hard to get where they have, which I see as a sign of progression, the woman working, as my grandparents were really smart but were basically stopped from studying and working due to the social stigmas in those times. My issue is that although my girlfriend wants to work in the future, her education would top off at an associate's degree while I plan to obtain in May. I want my future wife to not only be willing to work, but also be smart enough to have an intellectual debate with me. I might be phrasing this in a very negative connotation, and I'm sorry if I am, but I hope my point gets across. My question ultimately is, am I the butthole for wanting my girlfriend to pursue a higher education degree? Am I the butthole for keeping my friend's affair a secret? I, 31M, and my best friend Jay, 31M, have known each other since we were kids. Our families have been close for years. In high school, I introduced Jay to a girl I knew, and 28F, and they started dating. Over the years, their relationship has endured through tough times, like the loss of loved ones and family struggles. A few years ago, Jay mentioned at a party that he had a crush on a younger girl, Ms. 21F, but I didn't think much of it. Fast forward to the end of the pandemic, Jay confessed to me that he'd been secretly seeing Ms. for over a year. He admitted he was in love with her, while and, a nurse, had been working long hours during the pandemic. I was shocked and advised him to be honest with and if he really wanted to be with Ms. He said it wasn't the right time because of Anne's stress from work and begged me not to tell her. Months passed, and Jay's relationship with Ms. got more serious, with them having regular sex while and was at the hospital. I felt disgusted and gave Jay an ultimatum to either tell and or I would. He was furious but agreed to tell her when things calmed down. This back and forth continued for over a year, but Jay never came clean. After 3 years, Jay told me he ended the affair and was getting married to Anne. I suggested it was a good time for him to tell her the truth, but he panicked, saying she'd never forgive him and begged me not to say anything. I've been struggling with anxiety over this, as I feel guilty for not telling Anne. I wonder if it's too late to do anything now, and I'm torn between feeling like Jay should face the consequences of his actions and wanting to avoid losing both of them. Am I the butthole for not telling Anne, or should I have stepped in sooner? Am I the butthole for wanting my daughter to stay with me for a year? I, 30M, have a daughter, F6, with my ex. We broke up before she was born, but I've always been in her life. The hardest part is that we live in different states. I only get to see her during school breaks and some holidays. Every time I have to say goodbye, she holds on to me so tight, her little fingers digging into my shirt, whispering, "Please don't go." And every time, I have to pry her off, force a smile, and tell her I'll see her soon even though I know soon is never soon enough. A few weeks ago, my ex told me our daughter has been missing me more than usual. She asks about me constantly, cries when our FaceTime calls end, and some nights, she won't go to sleep because she's waiting for me to come tuck her in. It broke me. I already hate how little time I get with her, and now I know she feels that emptiness too. That's when I had an idea: what if she stayed with me for a year? Instead of just short visits, she could actually live with me, my wife, and our son, M3. She could have real, everyday moments with us, waking up to the smell of breakfast, running to me when I get home from work, playing with her little brother, and falling asleep knowing I'll be there in the morning. No more tearful goodbyes at the airport. No more countdowns until I leave. Just time. Time to be her dad the way I want to be. I brought it up to my ex, thinking she'd at least understand. But she shot it down immediately. She said a year was too long, that it would disrupt her school, her friendships, her whole routine. Then she said something that stuck with me. She accused me of being selfish. She said I was only thinking about what I wanted, not what was best for our daughter. But isn't this what she wants too? Doesn't she deserve to have her dad in her life more than just a few weeks a year? I told my ex she could visit anytime, that I'd make sure they stayed in touch every day. But she still wouldn't even consider it. I talked to my wife, and while she was supportive, I could tell she was unsure too. She knows how much I miss my daughter, but she also understands how hard this would be. Now I feel completely stuck. I don't want to fight with my ex, but I also don't want to keep watching my daughter cry every time I leave. I don't want to keep being the dad who's almost there. Am I wrong for wanting this? Am I the butthole for asking my ex to let our daughter stay with me for a year? Am I the butthole wife consistently does tasks after I say I will do them? My wife and I have been married for 4 years. We had our first child 6 months ago. She does things like this often, but, as an example, the other morning she asked me to make a bottle for our child. I had just finished making breakfast and cleaning the dishes and wasn't dressed for the day yet. I replied saying that I would make the bottle right after I got dressed, which I was going to go do right now. I went and got dressed, which took maybe 3 minutes, and came back downstairs to find my wife holding the baby and making the bottle. In a vacuum, not really any big deal, but it is a repeat behavior which I find myself frustrated by often. Am I the butthole for getting annoyed? I perceive it as her passive-aggressively saying, "You are putting the task I asked you to do above all others, and therefore the speed of your response is not fast enough, so I'll just do it myself." I wouldn't even mind if she just said, "Actually, can you please make the bottle first?" TLDR, cheated on 2 exams during my last semester of university by obtaining a professor's login information and seeing the exams before they were given. Professor gave me an F in the course but passed the information along to higher-ups, who subsequently expelled me. I will be appealing my case. I have a few more days to send in an appeal letter. After I send in my appeal, I am entitled, based on the code of conduct, to a hearing in front of the dean. I have contacted an attorney who is looking at everything. I want to know what the best course of action is to make my chances as strong as possible in getting my sanctions lessened. Location is United States. The course I cheated in was not a major course. I completed all of my major courses by merit, and this is my first cheating offense. I have never been accused of misconduct or wrongdoing in my 4 years at this university. First and foremost, I have reached out to an attorney who has recommended me a few things, but I wanted to come here as well for any and all advice. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Backstory: sometime in February, I planted a camera behind the keyboard in the classroom where my professor lectured. Once she typed in her login information, I was able to view the video and obtain her login information to use for my own personal benefit. On dozens of occasions, I logged on using the professor's login information on school computers and labs that have cameras, and viewed exams, passed labs, and even changed my own grade in the course. The first exam, around late March, I had seen the answer key prior to taking the exam, and naturally got a 100% on the exam. No suspicion was raised by the professor. I continued to view answer keys prior to the next exam, which was taken in late April. My exams were very identical to the answer keys. I had noticed that the professor changed her password after the second exam when I went to log in again, and so I put the camera back in the same place as the first time. However, this time, at some point during the video, it shows her looking directly at the camera, implying that she did indeed see it. In the beginning of May, about a week after the second exam, my professor came up to me after class and asked for me to come with her to the department chair's office. When I sat down, the department chair told me that there was a strong suspicion of me cheating on exams 1 and 2, and asked if there was anything I wanted to tell them. I said I admit, I cheated on them. That is all I said. I did not admit to how I cheated. Afterwards, he asked me how I cheated, to which I did not respond. They had me sign a form essentially stating that I admitted to cheating and that they were going to pass along the information to the Academic Affairs Committee for further investigation and potentially further sanctions on top of an F in the course. About a week later, a police officer from the university came to my apartment and asked me to come with him. He drove me to the campus police station, where I was questioned about illegal computer usage. An hour later, at the Academic Affairs office, I was informed verbally that I was going to be expelled from the university, and a day later, I received a letter reiterating the fact that I had been expelled. The letter says that I will not get a degree, cannot participate in graduation, and cannot be readmitted to the university, now or in the future. I reached out to an attorney yesterday, and will be meeting with him tomorrow. The steps I am taking for this: the university allows students to appeal the decision within 5 days of receiving the letter, which I am doing. Essentially, the appeal that I have written states that I admit my actions were egregious, and that I felt so much pressure to pass the course and felt awful when I cheated even before I got caught. I said that I wanted to fess up but didn't know how, and that when I was confronted I did not at all try to justify my actions, hide them, or lie. I came clean completely, and the burden was finally off. In my appeal, I am respectfully asking for my sanctions to be lessened to at most a suspension from the university so that I can still graduate, albeit not on time. I have not yet sent the letter, as I still have a few more days to submit the appeal, and I am waiting for my attorney to look at the letter tomorrow and give me any advice. The reason I got an attorney was so that I could either A. heavily grovel, an attorney cannot be present during the hearing, and the attorney would just help me before I go, and B. basically sue the school saying the sanctions are too harsh. I will not be denying my actions. The school has sufficient proof that I used the professor's login credentials for my own benefit. I have to come clean, and just hope that the school shows mercy. If the appeal does not go well, I will resort to Plan B, which is getting the attorney directly involved. Any advice on what I should say during the hearing, or anything else I should do?